Did you fall in love? Stella, I love her.
Love is stronger than anything.
You feel the love?
And I love you more than anything.
There's still love.
From the New York Times, I'm Anna Martin. This is Modern Love. And today, Eric Darnell Pritchard reads their modern love essay, Two Boys on Bicycles Falling in Love. When Eric was a kid growing up in Queens, New York, they spent a lot of time alone, lost in romance novels and soap operas. But then, a cute boy moved in, right across the street. Eric got a lot less lonely, and things got a lot more complicated. Here's Eric.
Two summers before Mary J. Blige soulfully crooned about searching for a real love, I found mine. I was 11 years old. I haven't seen him since, and I have no idea where he is now. So, for our purposes, I'll use his initial, L. In the summer of 1989, my family had moved to South Jamaica, Queens, and a year later, L and his mother moved into a house across the street. He rode into my life doing tricks on the wheels of a BMX bike with a checkerboard frame and handlebar grips. I had a bike too, but I never tried the tricks that L did. I was not that kind of boy. I was more inclined to read my mother's romance novels or spend all day watching soap operas. I was the kind of boy more likely to fall in love than to fall off of a bike. I was sitting on the porch reading a romance novel when L turned the corner. He rode his bike over to me, standing on the bike's pedals, towering over me as I read. "You want to ride with me?" he asked. I said, okay. Let me put this in the house," as I stumbled to my feet. Minutes later, we were riding our bikes, side by side. For boys like us, black boys, the world could seem large and daunting, and at the same time feel small and constricting. Mounting our bikes and going beyond our immediate neighborhood was a freedom ride. That first ride turned into dozens of rides, and we began to spend time together outside of bike riding too. We pulled our allowances and went to the bodega to fill up brown paper bags with Now and Laters, lemon heads, and Boston baked beans to share as we played with my Ninja Turtles action figures. But as summer ended and the first day of school got closer and closer, I felt a real sadness. I would start 5th grade and Elle would start 6th. Suddenly, my stomach was upset. I thought, did I eat too many sweets? But then I remembered other people felt this way, the characters in those romance novels and soaps. Almost immediately, my stomach was set right because I realized the answer was simple. I liked Elle every bit as much as my favorite soap heroine, Erica Kane, loved each and every one of her husbands. "I like you," I told Elle. "I like you too," he replied. "No, I like you, I said. "Okay, fool, I know," he said. We stared at each other for a second before going back to playing with our action figures until my aunt said it was time for dinner. During the last days of summer, he and I hung out as always. The night before the first day of school, he said, "I want to give you something." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring, his mother's ring. It was gold with a medium-sized amber stone in an oval basket setting. The ring was so tiny that even as a child, although a chubby one, I could fit it only on my pinky. The next day, he and I walked to school together. Once we were at school, we went to our different classes, but I was still wearing the ring. That whole morning, I played with it, waiting for lunch and recess. That would be the next time we'd see each other. I got my lunch tray and sat down to eat, spotting Elle in the 6th grade section. I waved at him from across the room. He smiled widely, just enough to expose a chipped left incisor, and he gave me a soldier salute and sat down. I smiled and turned to my lunch. As I picked up my sport to eat, I looked at the ring on my left pinky and began to daydream of our beautiful summer together. My daydream was interrupted by the voice of a classmate, the school gossip. She was an adolescent black Barbara Walters, full of questions. Once she set her sights on you, there was no escape. "Ooh, that's so nice," she said, pointing to the ring. "Is that your mom's ring?" "No," I said. With her, it was best to keep it short. "Whose is it? Where did you get it from?" she asked. I told her who had given it to me. "Oh, in 6th grade? That's why you waved at him. Is he your boyfriend?" "Yes," I said. "Oh, that's so sweet. Boys liking boys," she said, rolling her eyes and walking away. I smirked triumphantly, thinking that she must be jealous. It never occurred to me that she might roll her eyes for any other reason.
We'll be right back.
After school, I waited to walk home with Elle, but he never showed. And he wasn't on the stoop of his house when I reached our street. I ran into my house, did my homework lightning fast, and changed into my play clothes. I ran to Elle's house and knocked on the door. No answer. I sat on the steps and waited. About 15 minutes passed before I heard footsteps from inside the house. I jumped up. It was him. I smiled and said, "Want a ride?" But he did not smile back. Before I could ask what was wrong, he punched me in the eye. My head was spinning, but I managed to steady myself and say, "Why'd you?" as he ran toward me. I thought for a moment that he was coming to help me, but instead he hit me again. At that point, I did the only thing that made sense to me. I hit him back. Suddenly, we were in the street fighting like strangers. "Aunt Lori," my cousin screamed. "They're out here fighting." Within seconds, my aunt ran toward us to pull us apart. "What happened? I thought y'all were friends," she said to me as she brought me into the house. I couldn't even speak. "Eric, what happened?" she said. Still nothing. Then finally, looking at the ground, I said, "I thought he liked me. He said he liked me." I burst into tears, a full-on ugly cry. "Oh, Eric," Aunt Lori said, as she hugged me and let me sob into her chest. Elle and I didn't see each other for a few days. Then another one of my cousins, also in our school's 6th grade, told us that she had a new boyfriend. "Who is it?" someone asked. She said Elle's name. "You know, from across the street." I walked off quietly. Heartbreak, combined with confusion and anger, create a very specific pain. Add in guilt, and my despair was all-consuming. I remembered my gossipy classmate's eye roll and her toothless grin as she walked away from our lunchroom conversation. I'd seen that same grin in other instances. It was not a nice grin at all. It was nice nasty, as my mama would say. I had given people a way to be nice nasty to Elle, and this must have hurt him. I sat in my room the rest of the day, staring at the ring. That evening, I walked across the street to his house. I dropped the ring through the door's mail slot. I immediately heard footsteps inside, so I ran back to my house. I was closing my door just as I saw Elle's mother open her door and look around, holding the ring in her hand. 2 months later, in November, I sat on the steps reading a book when a van pulled up in front of Elle's house. Within minutes, his mother was putting boxes in the trunk of the van. It took a minute to register that Elle and his mother were moving. By the time it was clear to me, Elle was walking down the stairs. As he went to get into the van, we made eye contact for the first time in what felt like a lifetime. He smiled, wide enough to expose that chipped left incisor, saluted me like a soldier again, got in the van, and drove away. After everything, Elle exited my life as abruptly as he'd entered it. I never saw or spoke with him again.
If you want to hear my conversation with Eric Darnell Pritchard, you can find it in the Modern Love podcast feed. Modern Love is produced by Julia Botero, Christina Josa, and Riva Goldberg, with help from Emily Lang. It's edited by our executive producer, Jen Poyant. This episode was mixed by Sophia Landman. Our show was recorded by Maddie Masiello. Original music by Dan Powell, Marian Lozano, Pat McCusker, and Carol Sabaro. Digital production by Mahima Jablani and Nell Galogli. The Modern Love column is edited by Daniel Jones. Mia Lee is the editor of Modern Love Projects. I'm Anna Martin. Thanks for listening.